bring this conversation to where we know it. All right, and that's the NBA playoffs. Last time we were here, guys, I was making some ridiculous takes. I'm just gonna take that on the chin right now. All right.
You need to put some respect on Denver.
I'm gonna just say right now, this is the formal apology to the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic. I'm sorry, I was wrong. You're the best
The role
player.
players. No, you're talking shit about the role players.
I was Bruce Brown, Michael Porter Jr.,
Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon
Michael
for
Porter.
sure.
Yeah.
I said that right.
Okay. Jamal Murray.
He's not a role player.
No, but you were talking shit about him too.
No, I wasn't.
I swear to
What
God,
did I say about Jamal Murray?
You were saying Jokic is carrying the team on his own. If without Jokic on it, it's just a subpar team.
I still stand by that. But with Jokic, they're not a subpar team. They're a championship team. Okay, so
Yeah, but I'm telling you, the role players are capable of all. Another thing
that's what the apologies for.
Okay,
wrong with
keep going.
Keep trying to put salt in my wounds, bro. Like, come on.
Keep going. I just want you to know what you should apologize for.
I should have realized that the Lakers' writing was on the wall already because AD never played a game back to back well.
He didn't.
So I got blinded by that. I'm not gonna lie. I was seeing in Laker colors, you know. I wasn't seeing in Denver colors. But now I know basketball it's team sport. It's 5 people on the court, right? Right? If I'm not mistaken.
This guy reverted back to a normal nigga after the loss.
Just say I have no IQ anymore, man. But I'll say this about the NBA playoffs, like just a general statement. This has been the best season I've ever seen, and postseason.
Really?
Ever. It's just been the most unpredictable. The regular season was on its own amazing to watch because there was teams that shouldn't have been good to me that held up a fight on a given night. You know, so it was entertaining basketball. And then the playoffs started, and come on, man, who could have predicted the Miami Heat's run? You know, things like that shit doesn't happen often. Like an 8 seed is in the finals. That hasn't happened since '99. And when it did happen, they only played 30 games that regular season.
I won't take away anything from the Miami Heat because they're just dogs. But at the same time, they ran into a couple of W's. Giannis was injured for a bit.
Yeah.
If Giannis was not injured, you know, shit would have went.
I would agree
differently.
But then again, like in the regular season, the Bucks played without Giannis for a little stretch, and they were holding their own against great teams.
But it's different in the playoffs.
I would agree. That's where coaching comes into play.
Yeah, that's why he got fired.
Just gonna leave it at
but
that.
to be frank, a lot of their strategies are kind of around Giannis because when he's on the court, he makes it so much easier for everybody else.
Yeah.
He's getting triple team, double team. The Knicks are just wide open.
You make a great point about that. And if anything, this postseason has taught me that you cannot take a team's regular season and equate that to what their playoff success will be because there's a lot that comes down to team success in the playoffs.
Boston.
And a lot has to do with your stars' performance, coaching, decision-making down the stretch, adjustments, matchups. There's so much things that on any given night can change so that the team has to be structurally together. You know, there has to be, it has to be like a factory working, you know, if anything. Every piece has to be a well-oiled machine for things to work. And that's where Miami got a lot of their success.
Yeah.
You know, they had the next man up mentality and that worked to perfection. You know, like Caleb Martin, I was reading a stat, was playing, or he was on the team last year. They were also in Game 7 against Miami when they lost, right? And he was a DNP, did not play, coach's decision.
Damn.
And he was arguably could have been the conference finals MVP if Jimmy wasn't around, you know?
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you that the next man up mentality is very beneficial for teams in the playoffs.
I think it blindsided a lot of people.
Yeah, because how do you match up for a guy who's not on the scouting report?
Yeah, like,
you know?
just so random.
We didn't even know Gabe Vincent was last year. Like the casual fans didn't even know who he was.
He made his name when he was playing for Team Nigeria and was putting in work.
Yeah, but if you're not like if you're a if you're just an NBA fan is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. You're not going to be watching the Olympics and all that stuff. You're not going to know the context of these players. So him showing up in the playoffs this year, first off, he's going to get a bag.
Caleb is getting a bag.
Caleb's going to get a bag too.
And I'm happy for them.
It's insane, bro. I personally think they're going to attract some star role players to come and join that unit.
Nah, man.
For the future.
They need a superstar.
Well, yeah, obviously. I think they still need to, like, this core to me is not a dynasty, right? I think
I think so.
With the way that they're led and the mentality they have, I feel like they can become a dynasty, right? But I can't see this team winning multiple championships.
Really?
No.
But they've been to
they've been to 2 finals, right? One in the bubble, and they went to the conference finals last year.
Yeah, and 4 in the past, like,
Yeah,
What
but
is
they
it?
keep
5 years?
like they keep getting outmatched. Let's be honest. Every time they go up against a juggernaut team, right?
Yeah.
They're expected to lose, and the majority of the time they do.
Boston.
Yeah, Boston kind of like the thing about Boston is they shot themselves in the foot with, and on top of that, their best player got injured in the first possession of Game 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were just unlucky on that front. And I feel like the way they play is a lot different from the Miami Heat. They have a structural offense, go-to offense that they never go against,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that offense includes give the ball to the star and let him do whatever he wants, you know. And they don't play like team basketball down the stretch. I feel like, you know, and last year they did. It was so weird. Like they got a lot more out of Al Horford last year, Marcus Smart, you know. So I think maybe the coaching change they had this year kind of put a little bit more pressure on their stars, and with the addition of Malcolm Brogdon, a facilitator who just decided to become a shooter all of a sudden this year. Like I just think that the way they were like run,
Yeah.
like their offense was designed, they're still an amazing defensive team, but I didn't think that they could last with what they
Well,
had.
I'm happy they lost.
I'm happy they lost
I'm
too. I'm
happy
not gonna lie.
I hate the Boston Celtics more than anything.
I just hate Boston, the city, and the people.
Yeah, they're
But I
super
like the
racist.
team.
Super racist.
I like the
people.
guys. They seem like
I
good
think
guys.
Jaylen Brown got exposed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was a big Jaylen Brown fan before this playoffs, and now I'm just like,
Terrible facility.
I still am.
I'm a fan of him, but I just don't see the ceiling he had for me once upon a time has dropped, because you can't be a guard getting 8 turnovers in a game 7,
The whole
dribbling
team
off your
did-
foot.
But
You
the
know,
whole team didn't play well though.
I would agree, but I feel like Jaylen Brown was tasked to do more in game 7 when Jason Tatum got injured and failed miserably at that task. So that's a knock on him I'm gonna have to hold.
They made Derek White do that, bro.
I fuck with Derek White, man. That guy's fucking a dog.
Damn,
Bro.
that buzzer beater, bro.
So sad that they
hurt
didn't win.
me.
It's so
It
sad
hurt
they
me
didn't
so
win though.
much, bro.
I wanted Boston to win for Derek White, Ola. And Blake
Nah.
Griffin. I just wanted to see Blake
Blake
Griffin go to the
Griffin.
finals. It would have been Blake versus DJ in the finals, fam. Can you imagine?
I just
Yeah.
took it in your race,
They would
bro.
have been playing in the finals together.
Damn, that would have been hilarious.
Let's hope DJ gets his first.
So who do you think's taking it all?
I think the series is going to 7.
7.
Yeah, but I think the Nuggets are going to sneak out.
Okay.
They're just very well coached, man. And on top of they have a genius as their star player, bro. Literally a basketball
yes.
genius.
Mhm.
You know, just the way Jokic, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, obviously, but one point I want to make about Jokic is his true skill that I've noticed in the playoffs is when he's getting back down into like a trap or something like that, he makes decisions so quickly that end to successful plays.
Yeah.
That's it, and his reaction time is so much faster than a bunch of players. I just think that that's a valuable skill to have for any position, let alone your tallest player on the floor.
Mhm.
So with him having a bird's eye view over everyone, it just makes him unstoppable.
He's crazy, man. I don't think there's ever been someone this intelligent in a while.
Yeah.
I think has that mind like Chris Paul, like LeBron, like these people who are come like once a generation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think this dude, fam, you know, funny enough, I don't want to stay on this topic for too long, but I was always thinking that Giannis was the best player in the NBA.
Oh, you changed your
I
mind?
changed my mind.
Really?
I changed my mind. I think Jokic is like, I think what was pushing Giannis was his athleticism. Like he can get through the entire court with like 4 steps.
Mhm.
But this Jokic guy, he can formulate that in his mind and make everybody like it's like a chessboard to him.
Yeah.
You know, and it's different when you know you're not capable of doing it. However, you make it happen regardless with the pieces around you. I think that's cool. I think that's more impressive,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and on top of that, he's an offensive juggernaut. You know what I mean? And one more thing I want to say: this a lot of people said this guy is out of shape. I disagree with that. I think he's in the perfect shape to play the basketball he needs to play.
You know what's crazy is when if you go back to like 2015, 16,
Yeah.
Jokic was a lot fatter. A lot fatter.
Mhm.
So this is like a in shape version of Jokic.
Yeah, he's in
The fact
shape.
that he looks the way he does may look different from what the actual standard in the NBA is.
Mhm.
But just like looking at the numbers, I'm not asking that guy to bench anymore. I'm not asking him to sprint.
I still think Miami's gonna win it though.
You really do?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think Miami has that drive that I don't see a lot of people have.
Mhm.
Typically, you know, there's always one person on the team that has that dog in them. I've
And
never
just a-
seen
just-
a
just-
starter 5 have them.
Just an update too. Miami's down 1 in the series right now.
Yes.
It's 1-0. Today is June 3rd. And the next game is what, tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with what had happened in the last game, like Max Strus shooting 0 for 10, Caleb Martin shooting 1 for 7 from 3, I feel like that can't happen again, or else this
Max
series.
Struz didn't have a shot. He was over 10.
Yeah, he was 0 for
in
10.
general. Yeah.
That can't happen again from your role players, or else this series is over,
Yeah.
right? But if they can hold their own, if they can take one in Denver, I feel like this is going down. This is going down to the wire. It's going to be a game 7, and this would be the third game 7 for them. Third?
For who?
No, the Boston Celtics played 2 neck.
Yeah.
So this would be the second game 7 for them.
Yeah.
But they still have that dog in them. I don't think Denver has that Game 7 experience.
And I think Jimmy needs to be a little bit more aggressive, man. Like he was moving the ball a lot last game, trying to get his guys involved, setting up people for open shots. But I think he needs to have a big night to
No,
start the series off.
I think they're shot sized. It's really Aaron Gordon, what's his name? Jeff Green coming off the bench, Jokic. They really don't have the size to really match up. Whatever they do, and they have the shooting as well on Denver's side. That's difficult to match up and really keep up.
I thought we were going to see some Udonis Haslem minutes because they do need size. I was thinking they were just going to stick him out there and say, put your hands up, dog.
I don't think he's an active basketball player.
He can give you 2 minutes.
I think he's an active coach.
He can give you 2 minutes.
No, I think
2 minutes of a 48-minute game?
Yeah.
That's
2
not-
minutes,
that's
2
not
minutes in the
enough.
NBA is like 15 minutes.
they celebrated him at the end of the season for a reason. I think he's there's no way he's coming.
But they need size, though. Like, they don't have Deadman anymore, right?
They have Cody Zeller. That's the,
And he
that's the
sucks.
backup.
He looked terrible last game. Like, he was getting bullied by
he had,
Jokic.
he had a couple games in Boston.
Yeah, I think he plays well in the pick and roll.
Yeah.
But when they have a bunch of shooters on the floor and he's down low, there's no use for him, And that's their whole offense right now is shooting, right? And they play zone on the other side. He can't really move like that. He can't guard the paint. So they need someone with some actual size, Someone who can
Sure.
hold it down.
It's not a
Last
lot.
thing we before we move on, that 2-man game with Duncan Robertson and Bam Adebayo, I think it's
I'm liking that.
something very valuable.
liking that.
Yeah,
He has
people
some-
touching on that.
No cap. Duncan Robinson has balls of steel.
I
The
love
way
that
he
guy.
shoots,
I love that.
he has balls of steel, yo.
He's cutting to the basket now.
Yeah,
Open lane dribbling.
aggressive ass game. He's like an aggressive Kyle Korver to me.
Interesting. You know Tyler's come back?
Really, I thought it was game 3. Next game.
He's listed to come back from my understanding, but
Yeah, game
I
3.
think he's just trying to come back so he doesn't lose all his money, like, because the team's making
he's
a huge.
injured though.
But his team is making a huge run without him. He's their second best scorer,
Yeah, fair.
So that's gonna diminish his stock. No
He,
matter
he
what.
might get cut because of that. They might
No,
put it all into
fuck the
Caleb
Lakers, bro. They fucking piss me off. Not gonna lie. Fuck the
That's
Lakers.
so random.
Fuck them,
You don't
all
know-
of them.
This may be. I highly doubt it, but this may be LeBron's last season.
It's not.
I know,
Put
but
money on it.
if it was, bro, I think I would shed a tear, or I'd get like watery eyed, because I paid good money to see him this season, and he sat on the bench.
Yeah.
If that was my last opportunity
Guys.
to see LeBron James play basketball, and I
Guys,
didn't get the
Can you
opportunity.
tell this our podcast
No, I ain't
audience?
telling
Can you
nobody
please
that
tell
story.
them what
I ain't
happened to
telling
you?
nobody that story.
This guy had the most heartbreaking story, guys.
I paid good. So the Lakers are coming to Toronto to play. I played good
I'm
money.
so sorry, bro.
And you know how frugal I am with money.
Oh, this
I don't
guy's cheap.
Spend money.
We're gonna say frugal, but we mean cheap. All right.
I spent good money to get good seats so I could see LeBron James play. I was driving home that day. I see a report come out. Anthony Davis and LeBron James are out for a Toronto game. I'm like, is there any way that I can get a refund?
I would've walked it.
Regardless, I ended up going. But the best person I seen play was Russell Westbrook, which I don't mind. First of all, don't put no disrespect on my boy.
Damn.
Don't put no disrespect
You
on my
saw
boy.
Brody, fam?
Yeah, I did still. And I saw the boys sitting on the bench.
Winnie and Gabriel, alive.
I took like a picture
This
from.
guy bought Winnie and Gabriel
I
tickets.
took a picture with LeBron James in the background, where man had to zoom in like. I was just like this.
On the bench, alive in street clothes. Yikes!
But if that was my last opportunity to see
Fuck the
LeBron
Lakers.
play, bro,
Fuck Rob Pelinka. Fuck Genie Bus.
I think he did well with that team.
Yo,
for
do the
what the
Lakers
thing
have
that
a
he had.
mascot?
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Oh, interesting.
I was gonna say
think
fuck their
they
mascot, but fuck
They
their
do.
mascot.
All 30 teams have mascots.
Fuck their mascot, bro.
Rap.
Fuck their colors. Fuck the stars. Fuck LA.
No, just I think their stars on the sidelines are just the mascots. I don't really think
Yeah, it might be still.
Jack and Nicholson shit are the mascots.
Anyways, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm kind of sore because my team lost in the first round.
Yeah, they don't have a mascot.
Fuck them. And they're no mascot. If they make a mascot, fuck them.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Well-
I'm just very angry because that was my pick to win it all, and they led me astray.
No, just to wrap it up. No,
I learned that from AB. Led me astray. We have a friend who just talks like a novel writer, and he's just putting me
He is
on.
a novelist, though.
Yeah,
He did. He did right.
He is.
A novelist.
He's putting me on. He's putting me on like language. I need to get back on language. You know.
He's your thesaurus the left.
Yeah, the thesaurus. That's him. Can I get a synonym for that? I'll be doing that on Microsoft Word. Synonym.
I do that too. So
Yeah.
I do that.
I've been using a lot of Chat GPT to like make a bunch of blurbs and stuff for my work.
Fam, don't let the niggas know, fam.
They're not watching this.
Fam,
Use
I
Chat
it-
GPT.
Relax.
It's
I'll tell you
free.
right now, if it went to subscription based and
Yeah.
you can only get
There's
it,
a bunch of like.
I would pay for it.
There's a bunch of small ones that are like mimicking it now.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, if ChatGPT ever became only money, like
You're buying that one.
I'm buying that. Like it's worth it for me.
The company that made ChatGPT, they also made this other program that makes AI photos. It's called Dolly, and it's so sick, bro. You just type what you want and it'll make it
For free?
for free. Yeah, but you gotta have like you gotta join the
Free trial?
the free trial.
I'll do that still.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
dope though. So dope.
A lot of these tech stuff are interesting how wide range they're going. Like you heard about initially for that face thing unlocking the phone.
Yeah,
Initially, it couldn't detect certain people's skin tones.
and they used to have a problem with twins. Twins
Yeah.
used to be able to open each other's.
Oh,
phones.
that's fine though.
That's wrong.
That's
How would that be fine?
Because, well, how much can you ask an AI to do? They look the same. Like, at that point, it's the same person.
That's like saying 1 + 1 = 3. So it's close.
But
No,
don't
it's
they?
not the same.
Speaking of racism,
What a
Uh,
segue.
yeah.
What a segue.
there's like you read online. There's a lot of people that every time you see in the news that people have it's an impact more in America and they push it more in your face.
Mhm.
But a lot of people think here is a bit of a utopia. Like they say, like Canadians are nice.
Yeah.
They don't deal with. But how do you guys deal with some of the racism that we deal with on our side of the border?
You know, to kind of, I was thinking about this earlier too, and one thing that you said that's very prevalent in society for us is that we always get the negative side of racism in America, right? So we see that they have a clear divide, right? And it seems as if it's almost a polar opposite to what we go through in Canada. But I feel like that's wrong, and it's like, it's not right to portray that because like when you go outside on a day-to-day basis, you will see still that like there's impoverished communities in Toronto, for example. Right? There's areas of people of color and ethnic races and shit, and they're just given the least, And then on top of that, you see like little types of like subtlety in racism. I don't think it's as in your face as the States, but we still experience that from time to time here. Like for the most part, the opportunities that you can get here are limited. Like as much of a utopia, quote unquote, it seems to from the outside looking in. There's still imbalances here that we face every day. Like I'll give you an example for me. Like I've had almost like 20 jobs in my career for so far, right? I've been the only black person at 90% of the roles I've had, right? And that's something that I've taken account for. I'm noticing that, like where's all the brothers? Where's all the sisters? It's just me and a bunch of white people. So I feel like just the opportunities we have here are more. And my examples are obviously like the negative side of it. We have opportunities here, but there's still prejudice, man. There's still like things that we face on a day-to-day basis that makes it difficult to be a person of color here. It's not all peaches and cream.
I totally agree with everything you just said. But in terms of America, I just think it's so in your face over there. I think a lot of people and a lot of brands use race in terms of their politics in order to push a certain agenda forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by all means, 100%, it seems like it's more apparent in the US because I feel like that's what the media is, that's the agenda that they're pushing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's still very there and a lot of people go through it. I just think a lot of different companies benefit off of trying to push certain political agendas forward,
I agree.
And when it comes to Canada, don't get me wrong, like it's not as in your face as the United States, but a lot of racism is institutionalized in the very foundation of our society, and it goes to the very. I agree with you a lot. In a lot of the jobs that I've worked in, I was like the only black guy on the team.
Minority, right?
Yeah, and sometimes I think where are people who look like me, and then I kind of always branch out to let's see if I can find a Muslim. I always try to find somebody who is kind of looks somewhat like me in order to make a connection towards.
too,
But it's very unlikely that I find a black brother. If anything, it's more likely that I find a black, and like like maybe like a West African person or like a like Caribbean person, but finding like East African, it's
It's tough.
super rare,
It's
you know.
tough. It's tough.
And it's a lot of things. I feel like very similar to the U.S. Putting people into these certain buckets. There are a group of people who benefit off them in the long run, you know. And I think we're just part of that system that, and it's not something that we can really control, you know. Does that make sense?
100%. And I would even add a further layer to this too. And I was just thinking about this right now. You could even make the argument that we have more of a racial imbalance than America,
How so?
because think about it like this, right? I feel like America does a good job, or not even a good job. This is a subjective term, but like they do better at marketing
Their
race,
Yeah.
right, than we do, right? Because
Totally.
when I say that we have a arguably more imbalance, like you could go to like a province like Saskatchewan, right, and you won't see many black people there, right? Basically, you could go to a province like Saskatchewan and see very few people of color there, right? But on the opposite side, you can go to like a state like New Orleans, and you'll see just black people. It's like a black utopia almost. It's known for having people of color. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't feel like we have that in Canada, right?
Just-
Like we have
Toronto.
Toronto is a melting pot of diversity, but even still, like here, the people of color aren't, they're not thriving like the Caucasian people are. You know what I mean? So there's an imbalance here already. But when we look at the totality of our country, there's really no place for us that we know of.
I
You know,
agree,
they're just
yeah.
places that we're inhabiting, that we're coexisting in, right? And it's easier to do that, in my opinion, in Canada. But there's less of things that we own, things that we have for us as people of color. You know, like the reason why I was saying that, like there's states like Houston, right? A lot of black people there. You know, like they're
Atlanta.
Atlanta, a lot of black people there. You know, like we don't have something like that in Canada. Even though we're the second largest country in the world, we all kind of just go to Toronto and then like disperse once we get what we need from here. You know, so I feel like we might have even a less of an imbalance than they do, right?
That's interesting. Yeah.
You
So
think since there's smaller numbers here, we have a bigger land mass.
yeah,
Yeah.
We have smaller numbers of people than they do in America.
Mhm.
You think since there's smaller percentage of us here, we haven't had the opportunity to build like a Atlanta, like a Houston, like there's I forgot where Black Wall Street was, but I think it was Tulsa, Oklahoma. No, I don't think it was there. Or Topeka, Kansas, something like that. Do you think it's less of an opportunity there since there's less of a numbers here?
I just think that the way we're run is very, like, I don't want to take this to politics in any way, but I just look at it from a government aspect, right? The way we're run as a country, we're not necessarily run like a multicultural country as much as we like. Toronto is. I would say Toronto is, but as a Canada, it's Canada as a totality. We have a Canadian culture, right? No matter what, we have a Canadian culture, and that the French have a big impact on that. You know, like the natives have a big impact, sort of a big impact on it. You know, like just based off of where we are today in Canada. But I feel like we're just very black and white with just the decisions and the types of support we get for, you know, moving the community of people of color and ethnic cultures in Canada.
Yeah.
Because like if even if you look at like our political system, we have the conservatives and the liberals. That's in plain English. Like one is conservative and one is liberal. And where do the people of color mainly go?
They go to the liberals.
Exactly, right? So like we don't have a system kind of carrying us to get the Atlantas, the New Orleans, and we don't have that, like the floodgates of opportunity is not there for us the same way the States are, right? For us, what we know is we come to Toronto, we go to Toronto or Calgary or Vancouver somewhere, we go make something out of our name for ourselves somehow, or find some kind of property. We either live there or we move out. We go to the States, you know, and try and get better opportunities for ourselves. So I feel like it starts with how we're run as a country and what our values are, because we have a lot of foreigners, fam. We have a lot of immigrants that are coming to Canada for better lives, you know, and we have a lot to offer, right? So it'd be in our best interest to kind of get the most use out of the people that we have in our country, but we don't do that, right?
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question though. I don't know what the percentage is if you want to take it. Does it seem like we have more of, like you said, immigrants here? America, unfortunately, they have a lot more people that were brought there unwillingly.
Illegally.
So
Yeah.
their black people have had, even though it's not, they haven't had the opportunity really to embed themselves in the system, they had more of a time for their successful to be a success.
Yeah.
Do you think since we have more immigrants here that were brought more in the last couple decades, that's why we haven't had more of the bigger success stories than America does?
That's a really good question. For me personally, I just think that when the immigrants do come, they come to one of the big metropolitan cities in Canada, and they kind of land in the same spots that already people who are the diverse people already go, you know? And I think they're just adding on to the culture that's already there. But I think the farther out you go in Canada, the more racist it gets and the more apparent it gets. Like, that's where you'll find, like, the blatant racism out there.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I went to camp when I was in grade 5, I went to Perry Sound. Ever heard
Perry
of it?
Sound?
It's 4
Yeah,
hours,
yeah,
4 hours
yeah,
from
yeah.
now. It's a little city.
The fuck?
And I remember I was playing basketball. And in grade 5, I was good at basketball. And then I remember I got older.
Okay.
I got older, and then everything kind of
Yeah. Ooh.
equaled out.
I didn't know him in grade 5. That's why he's saying this, you know?
Nah, he was Klay Thompson before Klay Thompson.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You got the
appreciate
witness.
it,
You got the
appreciate
witness.
it, I appreciate it.
Cosign.
So I was doing well, and then I remember the people on the other team were giving me monkey shots.
Oh, shit.
And then at
The
the end of the game, we won. And then they were like, "You're black. You should have."
You're
award."
black?
And this is just because
Grade 5, you alive?
100%. And the camp were kids from all over Canada. So
Oh,
I
shit.
kind of got a like that was my first introduction to
Hmm.
people outside of Ontario.
Okay.
So I noticed as a child that the further out that you go from like the big cities like Toronto and Montreal, and the more racist it gets because it's more okay to be who you actually are there. Because
Yeah.
the more you come to the city, the more liberal it gets, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I just noticed that there's so much like institutionalized racism
Yeah.
wherever you go,
Mhm.
and just Canada is just more. They're just more quiet about it.
Yeah.
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we don't settle out to those places.
Yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
not going to Perry
You
Sound.
trying to go to Saskatoon?
Like
fam?
I'm not going to these
Come on,
places.
bro.
But I think the U.S. they just have more of these these cities that
Their economy is just more intact, you know? Like they're a profit driven country,
Yeah.
right? But that helps their people in a sense, you know what I mean? Like
also.
because like you go to Iowa and you'll see like a Microsoft headquarters there. I'm just using it as an example. I have no
Yeah.
idea what's there, but like they'll take places that aren't like major spots in America and
Yeah.
they'll make something out of it. They'll put opportunity there for you. You know, like
Yeah.
there's no head office of nothing in Saskatoon.
You're
you know,
right.
it's literally just homes.
And Brock Lesnar.
Just Brock Lesnar. He lives on like a 40-acre farm, fam. You're not getting to him. Let's be real.
No, but you're right.
So I just think that the way we're structured makes it seem like I feel like and this is a hot take, if you will. When people of color come to Canada, they have the greatest welcoming, but they have the worst day, in my opinion.
Interesting.
I think that
What do you mean by that?
it's because like they're sold a pipe dream,
Mhm.
you know, healthcare, diversity. You know, you can get a citizenship quicker than you would in United States. You know,
Mhm.
less of a rigorous trial. You know, like, and most of the people that are coming from countries, they're coming from third world countries. You know, torn apart and stuff like that. So they're obviously seeking some kind of asylum or some kind of a shelter, right? But once they get here, they realize, yo, bro, you can't speak English fluently. You can't write as fast and as quick, and you don't have the knowledge that you didn't go to schooling. Like a lot of shit gets wiped away from their actual identity, and they're kind of thrown into the system to be an average Joe, like a commoner, you know, like just work and be a low income citizen, and that's not a pipe dream, you know.
I agree. And to that point, I feel like Canada finesses you in a way where it tells you, yo, this is the best life that you can possibly have. I'm not saying life in Canada and Toronto has not done me well.
It's
'cause
done me
I
great.
love it here.
I'm
Don't get me
grateful,
wrong.
very
But
grateful.
I feel like people who come here don't know how expensive it is to live in Toronto.
Exactly.
I can barely make it out here. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I'm that guy. You know what I mean?
He's that guy. He's the guy.
No,
He's
but
the guy.
it's like you can't tell somebody who comes from another country
Mhm.
who's starting from scratch to pay that Toronto fee. Because, like,
Exactly.
fam, like, who can pay $3,000 with a 3-bedroom apartment,
Exactly.
starting off with no English, no background experience?
Mhm.
I just think the government itself doesn't set people up for success.
3 bedrooms is still 3,000.
I think it's more.
Bro, it's way more than that now.
I think
Yeah.
I was just
2 bedrooms
always
like
being
3.
on the little end.
Two
but-
bedrooms like 3,000 now, man.
Yeah.
Let's be
Yeah.
real.
So it's like the whole system is not built to let people of color, regardless if you're black, Indian, whatever, people of color win. You know what I
Because
mean?
the same like prejudice and racist tendencies exist in even in corporate Canada. You know,
Yeah.
like a bunch of jobs I've been to, the CEO is hiring within his family. You know,
Facts.
like there's a bunch of like there's a lot of connection based stuff in Canada. It's not based off your resume, your skills. You know, and it's also based off how you could speak. I've seen people who are just who have heavy accents, who are just brilliant people. In my field specifically, you have to have a lot of knowledge to be of use, of value, right? But if you can't convey that knowledge, they're gonna just see you as like a weakness, a point of weakness.
And to that point, we have doctors coming from, like, let's say India,
Yeah.
who go to school for X amount of years, come here to being told that your education was crap, so you're not qualified to be here.
Stripped of their,
You know what I mean?
credentials.
So I think that in itself is a system that doesn't allow them to prosper here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they have all the skill sets needed to be a doctor, and and now they're not allowed to pursue their path here. I think that in itself is like, but however, I'm not really sure what the law system is in Europe. But if you were to get if you were to go to Europe and get the same education and come here, I'm pretty sure it'd be well off, right?
Yeah, you'll be good.
And I think that just goes to show that when it comes to white people education, you're good to go. But when it comes to some, like, a minority group, it's not qualified.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a strange way of thinking about it, and you lose a lot of value in people because there is value in people, right? Especially people from different places, right? You don't know what they know, so it's only best, in my opinion, to give people opportunities to see what they're capable of. You know,
Facts.
like another thing that I was reading about too, like a while back, is that our jails are filled with foreigners.
I didn't know.
Filled with foreigners, you know? So like that's something that you got to take notice of. Like, you know, like why are we putting these people in prisons, you know, and stuff like that? Why don't we just deport them if they're not, you know, making good decisions in Canada?
Yeah.
Why are we, you know, like things like that to me just don't see it kind of rubs me the wrong way because there's so many people that I've seen that have settled to Toronto specifically, and they're just so like they have the most widest eyes of what the life can be here, right?
Yeah.
And then very quickly they realize that it's not all peaches and cream. This is
Facts.
tough. This shit's hard over here, you know? And I'm not saying that as a direct translation that the States is a better life you can live. It's arguably worse. In my opinion, I feel like we're just a less violent version of United States when it comes to racism because we don't have the same violent tendencies, the pride of, you know, taking care of your home, protecting your home and whatnot, right? We didn't go through Pearl Harbor, fam. Like, we have nothing to be afraid of, fam. Like, come on.
And we have
9/11 didn't happen to us.
we have less places to prosper too.
That's true.
I think Canadians kind of have a little harder because if you don't make it in one of these cities,
I'm gonna describe it to the audience in a way that I feel like they'll understand. Look at the musicians here, fam. Like as soon as they get on, they're out. The first
100%.
flight, out. You know, like all
100%.
the rappers and the artists and the hip hop and singers and everything. They did.
My boy just doesn't even live here, fam.
Celine Dion's on the list for top 5 highest earning American singers.
Oh,
How the fuck is that possible?
I didn't even know that.
Celine Dion, the human lean. Come on, man. That's our girl. That's our
I didn't even
girl.
know that.
The human lean in love.
Wait, hit that note, eh?
Here, bro. Come on, man.
Well, you had a question, no?
What I was about to ask, this comes for both countries.
Mhm.
It's really. Do you think a lot of the stuff that nowadays is being brought up, like the social media success and the YouTube success and all that, is distracting the people of color that are born and raised here from going into these fields that are really important that can embed them more in the society?
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with, in my opinion, it has to do with where their parents are and where their father figures and mother figures and their elders are. Because when you look at the average Caucasian family, majority of the time, mom and dad is like somebody, a respected person in society, right? And that could influence their children to be just like them, right? But if your mom and dad is just working at the subway station or like something like that, then you're going to be a little bit limited, in my opinion, you know? So you're going to probably gravitate to the entertainment in the field because I feel like majority of the time, people of color, and this is a very blanket statement, doesn't apply to everybody, obviously. When we're young, we want to be rich for some reason, right? We want to be way more well off than what we grew up with, right? So much so that it's like a crazy abundance that's unattainable almost, you know, essentially, right? And that can lead you down to different avenues that can take away from the actual path that you can get success in, you know? Like a lot of the time I find that, and this has happened to me a bunch of times, people that either went to school with or grew up with that are younger than me, they come and they message me like when they're in their 24, 25, and they're like, yo, I want to get into IT now. How do I do that? And most of these people are just like, I used to rap, or I was just like, on the streets just doing nothing or something like that. And then it takes them a while to realize that, yo, I can actually pursue something and become a skilled person in society.
Yeah.
So I feel like that just starts with the environments that we're in and the opportunities that our parents and our elders have. Then once we can eliminate that stigma that, like we're only we can only go so far in society, then we can start having more. Our youth especially will have more of they'll have like more inspiration, or aspiration to do things in society that they can achieve.
I
Aspire.
agree. And to that point, I think a lot of minority groups want to obtain, and a lot of like privileged groups want to maintain.
Exactly.
Like we're trying to obtain what we never had.
Can you repeat that for the audience?
Bro, you want me to say that one more time, bro? You want me to say that one more time, bro?
Say it again.
Yo, minority groups are trying to obtain, privileged people are trying to maintain. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of that comes from the media too. Like us watching all the rappers have all these fake cash on them.
It's fake cash?
Yeah, 100%. Like
Not
even,
real.
even the cars
The
and
money
everything.
phone?
Yeah,
The money phone's
it's all fake, bro.
Oh shit.
But like having all of that, we're kind of accustomed to believe in order to be successful, you need to have this, And then imagine all this brainwashing at a young age, being told that this is what you need, and when you grow up and you find out that only a limited amount of people can even obtain this in the first place, you're kind of hit with a rock in a hard place. And then these same people reach out to you like, hey, how do I get to your field?
Exactly.
And that's kind of what they had to go through to get there.
Exactly.
And it's unfortunate, but personally for me, I just think we need more opportunities across Canada.
Yeah.
I just, to be kind of restricted in one area and to go out into Parry Sound and to be called a monkey, it kind of makes me want to just stay in Toronto.
Like how is that happening in the most diverse country in the world?
Diverse
makes no sense.
No, diverse city. I don't think it's
just the city, bro.
Just
like
the city, bro.
Canada should just change the name to Toronto, fam.
100%.
Let's be real.
Like that's the only if you're not in Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and probably Edmonton, Calgary.
That's it.
You're good to go.
If I see anyone from PEI, Nova Scotia,
apparently there's a lot of black people.
New Brunswick,
because they escaped America and they went through that channels out around Nova Scotia, around PEI. So the black population.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I've never ventured out there, but I can imagine that there's some black communities.
They crossed the border from America during slavery, when slavery was people trying to escape it.
So that's our Atlanta, PEI. That's all we got.
I'm down to go.
Prince Edward. Prince Edward even black? Definitely not black.
No, but I was just Googling right now just to see some of the. I was trying to Google black Canadian successful people. A lot of the people that kept on coming up were people in media, people in fashion, people. I don't think it's really something that's it's on us as well to promote the people that we see that are successful in different industries. Like the one name I learned a couple years ago. This is an American guy named Byron Allen, who's been a successful businessman for a long time and who owned the Weather Network for a little while too in America, and that's a big deal.
Yeah,
and yet people didn't know his name because we're too distracted with other people that may not be as successful as he is.
The futures, hello.
Yeah, maybe the futures, but
we're just a bunch of glorified Dr. Seuss's.
Yeah,
that's what we are.
That.
That's what we are.
It's on us to go to Bay Street, see what type of executives are moving around.
Yeah.
And big up them. We have this platform to big up different people and different people of color that are doing influential things and important business work. And I think that's important. Like, it's not too late. It's 2023.
I agree.
Have opportunity for all of that.
I agree. I think my mind has been opened from the fact that I've been in my career path for as long as I have. And I've seen people in positions higher than me, positions like identical to me that I know are just idiots, And I'm just thinking to myself, I know like 10, 15 brilliant brothers that would do this position 10 times better that just probably don't even know that they can. They just don't know that this opportunity exists for them, or it's like a path that they could take to amass something in their life. Everybody just wants to drive the best car and live in the big house and have the finest girl. And I feel like those values are just so like linear, Like what fulfillment does that give you? And the second you buy the hottest car off the lot, it's decreasing in value.
100%.
So things like that. It opened my eyes, especially, and I think that's where it starts, you know. And the whole idea of this conversation is to kind of open people's eyes into the fact that Canada is a great country to live in, right? But it is not night and day when it comes to the United States in terms of race or racial divide, right? So be aware, at least, you know, if you want to succeed in this country, be aware of what's out here and what is being promoted as opposed to what's actually there and what's actually on the streets in society.
Do you have a take on that? I just have one more question after you guys.
I think that was a good closure, to be honest. But
Yeah.
is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I want to. This is something I've been realizing of late, and I have people around me that are teachers and things like that. At what age did you guys start realizing what type of things you guys are good at? What characteristics that stand out that people notice in you?
I don't know.
It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question.
Somebody always told me, because I don't like to think that I'm the smartest person in the room, by no means. Somebody always told me you're good at keeping people comfortable, or you're good at making impressions on people, or you're good at
It's a great compliment.
maintaining conversations with people. And you know, as a younger, I always thought that was like, well, why the hell does that matter to me? You know. And then I grew up, I found out that in corporate world, which I'm in, there you're always gonna find somebody who's more intelligent than you,
Oh, yeah.
somebody who is more skillful than you,
yeah.
somebody who is more experienced than you.
Mhm.
But to be honest, sometimes those things are not the most important factors in making it, you know? And what took me to where I am at the moment, it's more along the lines of who I am as a person. Like a lot of people just fuck with who I am, you know? And I'm finding whatever interviews that I'm in, whatever rooms that I'm in, whatever people that I talk to, I leave impressions on them. And those impressions open doors to places that I've never thought were possible for me.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm not the smartest person, but if you,
Pretty smart guy.
I am,
Smart guy.
but I'm telling you, like, you give me 20 minutes with somebody, I can be that person's I can be a close friend to that person, you know? And I think that's a skill set that not a lot of people have that took me
For sure.
leaps and bounds further than what a lot of my peers have, you know? So
Would you say you're personable?
when I want to be, like, I'm naturally introverted. I don't like talking to people, you know?
But at work, you're like, let's do this.
Yeah, at work, you know, when money's involved, I have to
Fake it till you
I
make
have to
it.
maintain an
Fake it till you make
it. But I'm naturally an introverted person. But something I learned, like I was 21, I was calling people, doing interviews with them because I'm in HR.
21.
I was so awkward. I was like, hey, what time, blah, blah. And then I remember somebody stopped me in the middle. He's like, hey, if you're nervous, I could do this for you. But if you really want to take the next step in your development, you need to be comfortable with having awkward conversations that you aren't prepared for. Because I'm telling you right now, it's something that you're going to have to do in every stage of your life.
Yeah.
So that's where my dumbass started talking to people outside. In order to kind of get
What
over
age
that
was that?
fear. Like 22,
22.
23.
Yeah.
Trying to get over the fear of, it's not even like the fear of rejection of somebody saying, I don't want to talk to you. It's more along the lines of being comfortable with the idea that nobody's too good for a conversation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So once I kind of got that down, flourished.
Nice.
I love that ending. It's
Appreciate
flourished.
that.
I love
Appreciate that.
Yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, I would say the same. Like 22, 23. That's when I started. Like at first, I got into my field at 19. You know, so I was a baby. Every job I was
This
at.
guy started leaps and bounds ahead of
Broski, I was literally like, niggas were coming up to me and asking me, yo, can I see your driver's license? Are you actually 19? I'm like, yeah. And I was just like, that was like my whole gimmick I was rocking with. I'm just a young guy, you know. And then as time went on, like as I grew some, you know, like I had more experience on the jobs, I started to notice my value, you know. And it wasn't necessarily that people started telling me it. It's very much along the lines of what you were saying, like being very personable, friendly, able to speak in like conversations that might be, you know, either uncomfortable, like you said, awkward or something like that. And just picking out the most relevant information and retaining it for my own prosperity. I feel like that's where the value, that's where I can see my value. And it started in 22, 23. And as I've been growing in my career, I've been trying to stick with the people that have those values and learn from them, you know? and try and see like how does this person handle conflict, how does this person deal with manage his workload and stuff like that. Like those are the things, now that I know where my skills are,
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously trying to work on my weaknesses too, but now I'm trying to just build on people that I see that have the same values as me or the same traits as me, and just trying to go from there. But in IT, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit difficult because a lot of it has to do with like like I was saying, like knowledge, right? You have to be very proactive and learn a lot on the fly and on your off time and stuff like that. And that's something that I'm learning to do with myself. But for the most part, I feel like the same age you were saying, like 22, 23.
Mm.
That's when I was like, I ain't just a kid here anymore. I'm a grown man
Yeah,
working.
you're at that stage where you're making grown people money,
Hmm.
but you have to develop that grown person mindset,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And it's I wouldn't say, I think you and I kind of started a little earlier,
yeah.
but I think in your 20s that's something that you should develop, because I'm telling you right now, you will always find a LeBron James in whatever you do.
Facts.
You will never be the best, 100%.
Facts.
But what you will do is, you just, if you're able to make, like, I wouldn't say an impression, but leave your stamp on something. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm like, if you were able to leave your stamp on whatever it is that you work on,
Mhm.
that person in the future is going to vouch for you.
I
And a
agree.
lot of people who I've left a stamp with are the reason that I am where I am today. Like my mentor, I say this to whoever listens, but my mentor is a Jamaican woman, and like what she taught me, I will always take with me wherever I go.
Mhm.
And like I always call her whenever I'm making big decisions in life, because I love to hear her opinion.
Mhm.
And I always kind of come at it from a perspective of, I don't know if I'm good enough for this, I don't know if I can do this, and I don't know if I'm prepared for this.
Mhm.
But she always lets me know that you even having this opportunity kind of shows you that you're here for what you need to do,
Mhm.
and you're ready for whatever obstacle that may come your way.
It's like
Like you,
validation, right?
like you're in front of the door. Take that step, you know.
Mhm.
And like like, and she's the person who's always left that stamp with me, because
Mhm.
I know, because she's the most realist person I know. She lets me know if what I'm doing is wrong, if what I'm doing is right,
Yeah.
and I know if I get the approval from this person, I'm good to go. And I think a lot of people don't have that growing up. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's just a little bit about that. But you just have to be able to leave your impression on wherever you go.
In short, man, I just want to say like it's a tougher journey for people of color here, right?
I agree.
But we have to have a higher level of self-awareness than our counterparts in society because we're scrutinized a little bit more and we're given a little bit less,
Yeah, we're
you
not
know?
allowed to mess up, fam.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
It's
not allowed to
tougher to
mess
make
up.
mistakes, but we got to also be grateful for what we have. And the fact just being in Toronto and just seeing different colors and different cultures and different people and stuff, that adds value to your life too. Because
Hmm.
I feel like if we had the American pride culture that they do in the States, we wouldn't have some of the values that you get from an Indian background, a Somali background, an Asian background. Like some of these values that these cultures from other countries have, we use to our advantage. So with that being said, just try and be more self-aware if you're a young person trying to make it here. But in terms of like opportunity, there's a ceiling here.
100%.
There's a ceiling here that's not in the States, unfortunately. But that's just how the game goes.
And just last thing, just the reason I brought up the skill set thing is just pour into the youth,
Yeah.
pour into the younger. The school system's not built as an infrastructure to divide and figure out how kids need to learn, how kids can learn.
Hmm.
Because some people like myself, I can't learn from you talking at me for hours.
Hmm.
I won't consume what you're saying.
Hmm.
I need to physically do or be in a conversation to learn from something.
Hmm.
As older siblings, as parents, as whatever, we can talk to our younger and see what they're good at, see what they like, and try to build from there,
Hmm.
and try to channel them into something where they may thrive, because
Mhm.
they can be the next Byron Allen, they can be the
Yeah.
next, if they're taught how to learn, if they're
Exactly.
taught how to process what reflects on them. So
That's key.
that's really important. So talk to your siblings, talk to your kids, and try to figure out how they learn and how they process information, and try to build from there.
And I want to leave off on a metaphor that you brought up. But you're right. There's gonna be LeBrons in every field. every field you go to. But you need a Jared Dudley. So be the Jared Dudley, guys. You know,
I like that.
you need a Jared Dudley.
I love that. Build community. That's
Exactly.
Jared Dudley is a community
Yeah.
leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, build community.
We need some Jared Dudleys, guys.
Hey everybody, thank you for coming out to another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please remember to leave a like, follow, subscribe. All our social media accounts in the description below. And we'll see you next week.